Hey guys, this is Linda from Linda Loves Creating and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. In this video, I'm going to be flipping through June in my Hobonichi Cousin for 2023. You guys, we made it. We made it halfway through the year and I have been in this book for 6 months now and I'm loving it. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay guys, before I even start flipping through, I'm going to show you guys a little bit here, just check in with my cover. So my intentions for this cover just didn't really pan out. I had planned to put maybe photos behind here, and I had planned to make some cuter or more useful things in these pockets. I do have these little page flags. These are my meal list planning sheets, some regular sticky notes. But that's pretty much it. I really want to put a washi sampler in here, especially for when I'm traveling, but I haven't found like the perfect thing to use to make a washi sampler. But I'm working on it. And I did add these stickers. I believe I had these on here for the past few months, so you've probably seen them before. I do want to say these tabs, I know I got a lot of questions on them. And I love them, but they are not holding up, you guys. See that August has fallen off, that November has fallen off, and I wasn't even using those ones because I haven't been flipping to those months. I think it's just wear and tear. They're just not sturdy enough. So I think next year I'm going to go with something a little sturdier, or I might not even put tabs at all on my Hobonichi Cousin. For a while, I was using the strings that come in this cover, and this cover is from Hobonichi itself, but there's only two, and I need a monthly, a weekly, and a daily. So I was struggling with the fact that there weren't enough. So then I saw Rachel in Theory here over on YouTube was using just a flat sticky note to mark the days, and so I started doing that. Or they're not really sticky notes, they were like the page tabs. And I started doing that, but I didn't like the adhesive residue it was leaving on the pages. And then I saw these. These are these little clips. I believe they're from Midori. And they're super cheap and super simple. They just slip right onto the page. And I've been using them to mark my current month, week, and day. And they're super simple to use. So just to start flipping through here, I have been putting my useful info here, which is how I am including an index of sorts, because there are certain things on certain daily spreads that I need to reference over and over again, and I'm having trouble remembering what day they're on. So I'm using this because having an index is useful, but this is what I used the index spread for instead, was tracking. So you can see I tracked all the way through June. I had set this up at the beginning of the year with these tasks. Some of them were more successful than others. Some of them I decided I didn't really want tracking on here, like hike/other. You can see I didn't really do it a ton because that's not really something I'm trying to do every day. So I didn't really want to include it. So I'm finally moving into July. I changed up the things that I am tracking. So here at the bottom of each page, of each row, I have some long-term projects that I want to accomplish around the house. And what I did for these was I wrote out what the project was with a bullet point dot using my Zig clean color dot marker in, I think this is called like platinum, but it's basically a light gray. And it doesn't work super well on the Hobonichi paper. I wish there was like a darker gray that stood up to this paper a bit more, because this paper is not pure white. You can see it's not like super solid, but you can see them. And what I was doing is just writing in a number for when I actually accomplished that task. And then I was migrating them if I accomplished it at another date. Some of them I have not done yet. I'm behind on this. That is pretty typical for me because I am very ambitious with my cleaning tasks, because this is like my perfect ideal. I want to get everything done, but it's never going to happen, right? So then moving into my monthly. So here is my monthly for June. I have been using these purely as future planning. I'm not being decorative with them other than a basic color across the top. I'm using this purely to write out, this is my daughter's work schedule, this is when we have appointments, this is when I have meetings, different things going on, so that I'm aware as I am planning my weeks or my days, what I have scheduled for that day. Over here in the left-hand side, I have my monthly tasks, which are the ones that are coming from this spread here, so that I don't have to keep flipping back and forth, although I do flip here daily to do my trackers. I like to have everything that I need to like accomplish in the month here. These are my monthly cleaning. So these are the things that I want to clean every month once. And you can see I didn't get to everything in June. I've already, but what I started doing in July, you can see here, is I put a little blue dot for the things that I hadn't done yet in June. And honestly, I did this yesterday, so I'm gonna check it off. So that I can prioritize getting those ones done so they don't go 2 months without getting done. These are the monthly tasks from the earlier months. So these are the things here, are my annual tasks that I hadn't yet gotten to as of June, but they were from May through January, or January through May. So those are all right here. And I already migrated the ones that I hadn't done to July because it is now July 3rd when I'm filming this. My to-do list tasks, these are just other tasks that need to get done at some point during the month or at some point in general, not necessarily this month or a specific day, but just things I want to get done. Then flipping into my weeklies. Oh, that's too far. Got to flip to my June. So here is how I was starting the month. I had started doing these like doodles every day, and I had done this a lot in May. If you watched my May video, I will link it up in the cards if you missed that one. And I really liked how this looked. This was very inspired by Lindsay Scribbles, although I am not nearly as great of an artist as she is. But I got tired of doing this and I was kind of dreading it. And the point of my weekly spreads for me is more of like a memory keeping, but just to kind of keep a record of what happened so that when I go back into Project Life, I can reference this and know what happened that week. So it's something I really want to do in real time, or maybe 1 or 2 days at a time. I don't want to be doing it, you know, a week at a time. And I was just not wanting to do it, you guys. I was just not motivated. And you can see here I was coloring, and then finally I just like got the facts down, but I didn't color because I was over it. I also talked about this in my last video about how these stickers were really getting too bulky because I was using them in the same spot every week. So moving into June here, I kind of switched it up a bit. I stopped using stickers. For a few days I was doodling, and then I pulled over a stamp from Carrie Bradford Studios to add in some of the weather icons. I started just using pen to do my headers, and I changed up kind of how I was doing this. I added just some colorful dots and used more stamps for this week. And pretty much every week I'm just kind of switching it up to keep it interesting. Over here on the left-hand side, I have just a general running to-do list of things that need to happen during the week. Across the bottom here, I have my chores. So these are things that either come from my monthly. So if you go back to my monthly, where's my tab? Here, these are things from here that I wanted to accomplish on a specific day. So as I plan out my week, I will schedule things. There are also certain things that happen either every week or every other week, like taking out the trash is every Wednesday. So I'm gonna put that on Wednesday. I pay my bills every other Tuesday when I get paid. So I put that on here. I do laundry every Monday. So that always shows up on Monday. And then sometimes if I have to switch up my schedule because something is going on that week, this is the place that I will do that, and I'll say, oh, you know, I can't do laundry on Monday because I'm going to be out of town. I will do it on Thursday, and then I will schedule it. Across the bottom here is where I write in my dinners. I used to pre-plan my dinners. Now I don't. Now what I do is I use a sticky note like this where I write out what I have planned loosely, and then as I live the day and decide what I'm actually eating that day, I will write it in so that I have kind of a record of it, which is part of my memory keeping. Not that I really document my dinners in Project Life, but sometimes it's helpful for context for me to remember kind of what was going on that day, because it will trigger my memory. I also, you know, if I go to a restaurant or something, or like here we had the block party and I ate at the taco truck, like those types of things will help me remember what was going on and might be something that was documented or I want to document. For this second week, or I guess sort of third week of June, I did a very similar pattern here. I fell off my weather here a little bit, but otherwise this is pretty much the same. Where I'm doing these colored dots, I'm using just these Crayola Super Tips, which are super cheap markers. You can get them on Amazon, and I will link all of my supplies down below in the description box. I really like these for my journaling. They have this nice chisel tip, which is great for coloring or writing. It doesn't really do brush lettering the same way like a true brush pen would, but you can kind of do it with these, which is amazing for the price. The only thing that I'm finding is that they're running low in ink fairly soon, which is fine because I do use them a ton. And you know, they are really cheap, but they are a very good investment. If you want something, if you want some colors in your journal and you want something super cheap, I would recommend picking up a set of those. Then moving into the next week of June, here I got a little more fun. I started doodling a bit more. I started adding some stamping, some stuff glued in, and I love this. And I think that this is the style I really want to go for going forward with this. One thing I struggle with my weeklies is that they kind of serve a dual purpose. I have some future planning in here, and I have some back planning that's more of a memory keeping. And those tend to kind of overlap and get in the way. So one thing that I used to struggle with, if you look at some of my earlier weeks, is I would write in some like appointments or my daughter going to work. Here I have some meetings. I would write those in ahead of time. And then as I'm writing in my memory keeping, I kind of have to like fit it around that. And that's really kind of difficult for me. So next year, I'm planning on doing these two different functions and two different planners. But for the rest of 2023, I'm sticking with this system. So I'm just trying to find ways to kind of make that work for me. And one of those is kind of not putting my appointments into my weekly ahead of time, doing maybe 1 or 2 days at a time, and really relying on my monthly for that future planning. Then this week I was on vacation. I went to Montreal and I did not, actually I brought my Hobonichi cousin, but I didn't open it once. I did use my Hobonichi Techo A6 for my journaling to document kind of what was happening each day, which is why I didn't feel the need to put it here as well. Even though I do daily journal in that book, I don't normally use it for a reference for Project Life because sometimes it's more reflective or just like random thoughts, and I don't really rely on it to be like, this is what I did every day. But while on vacation, I did do that. So I was able to use it for that purpose. And I went to Montreal starting on Sunday through Wednesday. I did not do my Hobonichi Techo A6 on the Wednesday because it was pretty much just the driving day. So I wrote all of that in here, and then I just quickly kind of filled this stuff in because I just wanted to get this done. I didn't do the weather. I just wanted to have everything documented here without having to worry about, you know, forgetting it, and move on to the next week, which is now into July. So now moving into my dailies. So here's how I started June. I started with my goals, and honestly, I'm gonna kind of just check these off as I'm doing this with you. So I picked 6 different priorities for the year or for the month. So I have some things for my home, and I didn't get to all of these things. I have a health and body. I did do this. I did pretty well at this. I didn't go for any hikes in June. I did not do well in Pilates. So far, I'm doing much better in July, but I have been doing better at drinking a lot of water. Self-care, I finished my burnout book, which was, you guys, I was reading this book for over a year. It's called Burnout. I struggle through nonfiction regardless, but this one really just like was difficult for me. I did do this. I set up and caught up a home journal. I kept up with my daily planners and journals. I backfilled my planner journal gaps. I did pretty well in that. I wasn't so great at reading, and I did have more me time. I did go on vacation. I celebrated my daughter graduating high school. June was a busy month, you guys. I don't know that I prioritized having fun. I guess I did. And I did not focus on one little word. Crafts, I did do a lot of these things. I worked 2 weeks ahead. I set up my new bullet journal for crafting. I did not finish my 22 projects, but I'm going to put a line through it because that shows that I worked towards it. I have art journaled again, but that was actually in July, so I'm going to not check that off. I haven't crushed a kit or cross-stitched, and I did post daily Insta stories. And then again, these are some financial ones. Moving into June here, here's my first daily spread, and I'm using the same format that I've been using for a while. I have a header up here, and I had switched to this header style in July. I'm kind of switching back to my older style that I had used towards the beginning of the year, but I did stick with this throughout the month of June. Then I have my daily tasks, a to-do list, craft tasks. Those are my general lists that I do every day, but sometimes I will switch it up. If I have like a lot of tasks, I might break it out between like home and, you know, other tasks, something like that. And then I just had like a few random notes here, and then I adhere some things in throughout the month that I print every so often. They're usually like Instagram things or inspirational posts, and I will use those to kind of fill in the gaps. And I like having a home to store these things. Here is the second. So I do daily colors. So it's like in a rainbow. So Thursday is green, Friday is blue, Saturday is purple, Sunday is pink, and then you start at red on Monday. So again, I have my daily task, my task list, my craft task, and my daily tasks are the same every single day. This was my past day. So for my job, I work 9 out of 10 days. And every other Friday is my past day, which I use to do a lot of crafting and just kind of catch up on things and film videos for my YouTube channel here. So I had a lot of stuff for that here. And then I have some side quests. I was working on some stuff. My daughter is starting college in August. And you guys, that is so much work planning for college. I don't know how anyone has multiple children or does this more than once. Maybe it gets easier the second time, but there is so much paperwork, and she is fully not equipped to handle it. So I have a lot of stuff to do for that. And then I had this, there was a sticky note here, and I just covered this up. I had some like personal information for her student loan stuff. And then I had some notes from speaking with her doctor. Then moving on to Saturday, I had purple here. I didn't have a lot of notes for this day, so I filled it in with a quote. Sunday, I have a few more things, and then I have just like an ongoing list of stuff going on with just annoying financial stuff. On Monday, so I decided in June that I want to start purchasing my coffee beans online as opposed to getting them from a local coffee shop. Nothing against my local coffee shop, but their hours were just very, very frustrating, and it was very hard to get there to pick up beans. So I decided a mail order was just a way to simplify my life. So I pulled online for some potential brands, and I wrote them down here for what to try with. And then I also had placed a JetPens order, and it came in. So here were some of the new things that I purchased, and I like just swatching those in here. On the 6th, I did not plan. So what I had done was I had created this tracker here, knowing I wasn't going to plan on the 6th, of things that I wanted to kind of like focus on catching up this month. And then I totally fell off halfway through the month, but I did get some work done on these different areas. So I'm happy with that. And of course, adding in a meme here, and I have behind here just some notes about paying my bills. That book, Burnout, that I was talking about earlier that I finally finished. When I'm reading a nonfiction book, I like to take notes, and putting those in my blank dailies is just a great way to use up the dailies and have those notes easily referenced. I also, here, the beginning, I made a list here for my index of all of the pages where I took notes from the Burnout book. So if I was looking specifically for notes from that book, I could just use that to figure out what days I needed to flip to. And then I filled in the rest of the page here with a quote. that I found on Pinterest just because my notes didn't take up the entire page. Moving into Thursday, again, I have just my header, my daily tasks, task list, craft tasks, and then filling in here, I have some like notes from things that happened this day, things I had done, just so I can keep track of like what I did on which day in case I need to reference it. Over here, I had some like random thoughts. So like that's just different ways that I fill in the second part of the day. And I'm enjoying having that process, but next year I am not going to do that because I'm switching to a Common Planner specifically so I don't have the whole daily page and I can just do my daily task list and then move on to the next day and not have to fill an entire page every day. I am still going to do a Hobonichi Cousin, but it's going to be more of a memory keeping daily journal. Moving into Saturday and Sunday, so here I found a very good way to use this was to do a bedtime brain dump, which is basically right before bed. Rather than planning my next day, I just wrote out like everything in my brain that I wanted to get out of my brain and on paper so it wasn't hanging over my head all night. And then when I got up in the morning, I could read through it and use that as a jumping off place to do my daily planning. You can also see here is a place where I split out my task list and my home tasks, which is like cleaning, because I do that sometimes when I have just a lot on my list and you can see I didn't get to any of my cleaning this day, and that's fine. And that's why I like seeing them split out, because these are more of a priority to me. These are usually things that like have to get done, like pay bills, or just, and maybe not have to get done, but things I can do on my computer, things that are not cleaning related, because cleaning to me, while it's something that has to happen at some point, it never has to happen like right now. It can always wait. So I like to have them separate when I have a lot on my list, because if I'm busy, I can just say, you know what, I'm not going to clean today, and that's totally fine. Again, doing my bedtime brain dump, and then moving on to the 12th. So here I was just kind of sketching out my ideas for a video that I did, which was 10 ways to fill empty dailies. If you missed that video, I will link it up at the eye. But basically here, I was just listing out my thoughts ahead of time before I wrote out, before I did that video. And it was just a way to kind of fill the page here and keep some notes. Then here on the 13th, I did not plan. So I did finish the Burnout book. And so I have my notes from the final chapter. And then I have a totally blank page, completely fine. I might come back and fill it in as we're getting towards the end of June or like halfway through June. I have not yet had the opportunity to go back and fill these pages in. These ones like this where I filled it in later, there were a few of those that you saw in here. I'm trying to find, like this one. Maybe I filled this in on like June 22nd. You know, when I got towards the end and I needed an extra page, I will flip towards the beginning of the month and start there and move back. So that's why you'll see more blank pages as we get towards the end of the month. Here is Thursday, and just kind of filling in the page with some little doodles, just kind of, you know, living life and documenting it as I go in here. Here's Friday, June 16th. Again, splitting my tasks out, which is just kind of indicative of the fact that I have a lot going on. This was a very busy month. So was May. May and June were both very busy seasons, and I'm hoping that July is going to be so much calmer. But I kind of have a feeling that my life is not going to slow down until my daughter moves out for college in August. Here I had another blank page, so I use this to write out all of my notes for things for our trip for Montreal. We went to Montreal for 4 days at the end of June. And so I just had a list here of like our hotel information. We were meeting up with a friend of mine on our way up there, so I had notes for that. And then just things we wanted to potentially do in Montreal and places we potentially wanted to eat. Then here, Sunday, I have my tasks again. I have some side quests. And then here my handwriting got really sloppy, which happens sometimes. And it's one of those things where like, normally if I'm like jotting something really fast, my handwriting gets really messy, and I don't want that in my cousin. So I would do it on a sticky note, but instead I'm like, I really want just like real life in here. So I'm trying to get over that and put it in here. So this was, I cleaned out my closet and I wanted to jot down what I donated so that I had a record. So for tax purposes, but also just, you know, for memory keeping purposes. So I wrote it down really quickly as I was kind of working through that. And that's why it's like very sloppy, but I'm happy that I have that note there. And that was, I did that on that specific day. So on Monday was Juneteenth, so I didn't have work. So I had a lot of extra time to get some more stuff done, which was great. And then I did another bedtime brain dump, which was again sloppy because I was probably very tired, but just wanted to get it out of my head. Then getting ready for my trip, I just didn't have much to do. This page was blank, but I printed out the Taylor Swift International Eras Tour dates because I'm gonna try to get tickets. So I put that here, and I'm thinking I'm gonna put some notes here as I try my best to get tickets, but we'll see. Wish me luck, you guys. And then here, I knew I wasn't gonna be able to plan. I had a lot going on leading up to my trip. So I put like, just kind of like, this was things that needed to happen or I wanted to happen before I left. So I just kind of broke them down into life, planning for the vacation, and crafts. And I split it out like that. Okay, we're getting towards the end of the month. And here again, I have, you know, just my daily tasks, which actually went onto 2 columns this day because I just had so much to do. And then I had a bunch of stuff with my daughter's college. So I'm just taking notes here as I'm going. Friday here, I have my tasks, but I didn't have anything to really fill in this spot. Sorry if the camera was shaking there a little bit. My cat was rubbing up against the arm that holds my camera. And I did put something here that I printed out, but I just didn't have anything to fill in the rest of the day. Saturday, this was right before my trip, just putting like my brain out here. So much to do, so little time, how I'm feeling. I got a surprise package in the mail from Freckled Fawn. I'm on their creative team, and I have a code. If you want some of their washi tape or any of their other products, I will leave that down in the description box below. But I got some of their new washi tape, and I love it. I especially love these ones that have the gold foil on them. They're so fun. So I just swatched them here. And then I was on my vacation. So I did not plan during my vacation, but I did make some notes on this page, just some random notes about potentially how I'm going to lay out my mini album about my trip. And then something I saw online that I wanted to write down, and a meme that I printed out. I have some blank pages here. And then here, this was the day I got home, and I didn't want to plan a full day, but I had stuff to do. So I just did a quick to-do list, which is totally fine. Just using my planner in however I need it that day. Then here, the 29th, again, I didn't plan. Getting towards the end of the month, it was a very busy end of the month, and that's just real life. Will I go back and use these blank pages? Maybe, maybe not. Honestly, these ones I probably will because I have a spread, but you never know. And then ending off the month, back to real life. It was my past day again, so I have like my catch-up tasks, so many things that I wanted to do, and just finishing up the month. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Bye.